Like, I was bored. This series has got to end. It was incredible. I gave it 1 star. Not enjoyable whatsoever. My words aren't happening for me. Hello, my book besties, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Delaney if you are new here, and we are back with another monthly reading wrap up, and we're going to be talking about the 15 books that I read in the month of November. When I say 15, it feels a little wrong to give myself credit for 15 books when a couple of them were short stories, so I do want to note that. But then I was like, if I count them as half a book, then that gets confusing. It was just kind of a mess if I was like, I don't count them as a full book, so I'm just going to count them, but know that like, it's 15, but I kind of am giving myself more credit than I deserve because a few of them were like 70 pages. You know what I mean? But still, it's not about the number. It doesn't really matter. So we're just gonna jump in. I have a lot of books to talk about, a lot of really amazing books, and a lot of books that actually really let me down this past month. So we're gonna talk about the wide range of emotions that I felt reading these books this past month, and yeah, we can just dive right in. Does my hair look funky? It's Thanksgiving as I'm filming this. And like, does my hair look funky? What is this strand? I don't really know. Sorry about it. So I started off the month with Past, Present, Future, and this is the second book to Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, which I really enjoyed. This is a young adult series that follows 2 individuals. We have Neil and Rowan, and it follows them through their final days of high school in the first book, and then this book is them going off to college and actually doing long distance together. I have to admit, I was a little bit let down by this book. I feel like my hopes were so high because not normally being a young adult reader, I loved Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. I think that was in my last monthly wrap up. I believe I read that in October, and I was like really shocked at how much I loved that book, and so I was excited to read this one. But then as I was working through it, I was like, I'm just not feeling this. Like, I'm just not into this one, which was a huge bummer. I feel like I wanted more romance in this one, which I get is kind of hard since they were long distance. This is more about like their stories as individuals and like building their life at college and mental health struggles and those types of things, which was interesting to read about. But I think the romance was so strong in book 1 that I wanted more romance, and it just kind of fell flat for me a little bit. I ended up giving this a 3-star rating. I really would highly recommend you read Today, Tonight, Tomorrow, but in my personal opinion, I feel like the series could have ended there. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of a hot take. A lot of people in like the Goodreads reviews really love this book, so take my review with a grain of salt, but my personal opinion, I just really enjoyed book 1 a lot more, so I was a little bit let down by this one. Then I have a book that I read for my Reading Sad Books for a Week vlog, and oh my gosh, it tore my heart out. I read Bright Side, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. This was so good. This is another book that I feel like is a little bit younger than I typically go for. It's like college age, but I was in it. Like, I was really invested, and I knew it was gonna be sad. I knew kind of what was coming. I felt it in my bones. I was like, I know how this is gonna end. It's not gonna be pretty. And then it happened, and it still crushed me. This book in particular, I think, hit really hard because I lost somebody at the beginning of this year, and like losing somebody at any point is hard, but especially when you lose someone young, I think it's like a different form of grief in a way. And so like the messaging in this book just hit super close to home, and also the characters were made so complex and they were written so clearly and they were so relatable that I felt like I knew them personally. So like when tragedy struck, it was like it was hitting people that I knew. Do you know what I mean? I just thought this book was beautifully done. It was brilliant, and it was so emotional. If you want to cry, check this out. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I read it on Kindle. It was really great. I guess I could stack the books so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Then I have my 5-star of the month, and that is The Women by Kristen Hanna. You can tell that I adored this book. This was my Patreon book club's book of the month for November, and by far my favorite book that we have picked for our book club. It was phenomenal. This takes place during the Vietnam War, and it follows Frankie, who's a nurse during the war, and her relationships with other women and relationships with other people while being in the Vietnam War. And that's kind of like part 1 of the book. I'm like slowly sinking because I'm not sitting on my knees anymore. Hold on. So that's part 1 of the book, and then part 2 of the book is when she comes home from the war, and that's my personal favorite part of the book, is like the aftermath and seeing the trauma that she's processing, the reaction when she came home from war, the power of female friendship and the power of womanhood. This is like such a beautiful story. It was so emotional, and after reading The Nightingale, I was a little bit concerned that this wouldn't live up to my expectations because I loved The Nightingale. Like, it's untouchable for me. And I was still not disappointed by this one. It was incredible. I would recommend this book to honestly anybody, male, female, interest in war, historical fiction reader, like whatever it is. I think everybody could benefit reading this book and from the messages in this book. It was incredible. I have my Thanksgiving skirt in the dryer, but I'm afraid of drying it too long and ruining it. I don't even know if I'm supposed to put it in the dryer. So I'm gonna go grab it. I'll be right back. I'm back. Skirt is not ruined, but it's also still not wrinkly, so whatever. After The Women, I wanted like a light-hearted, fun rom-com, and I picked the perfect book for that, if I do say so myself. I read Just Some Stupid Love Story, and this was so fun. It was just like a fun read. It's not something that I feel like everyone needs to read. It's not emotional, it's not overly memorable, but it was so much fun. This is a second chance romance, reverse Grumpy Sunshine, and the female main character in this book is just like super pessimistic, and the male main character is like over the top golden retriever positivity, which I actually didn't love. If you watched my reading vlog, I just like didn't love how sweet the male main character was. I like male main characters with a little more rough around the edges. I don't know. But anyways, it was okay. So this follows two high school sweethearts that actually reconnect at a high school reunion, and the female main character, being super pessimistic, does not believe in soulmates, and the male main character and her kind of make a bet to... my words aren't wording. This follows okay, so Molly and Seth are our two main characters. They, at the high school reunion, make a bet of which pairings from their high school class are going to be together in 5 years. So this follows them over the next coming years, and they keep touching base. They keep kind of like stumbling into each other, reaching out to each other. It's kind of messy a little bit, but you can tell like their connection's really strong and they just can't really stay away from each other. So that was really sweet. And then this is just like romance, like the definition of rom-com. My words aren't happening for me. Take a breath. If you were looking for something fun, fluffy, a little bit crazy, a little bit out there, I would definitely recommend this one. It very much reminds me of like Christina Lauren style writing, where like some of the things are happening and they're like laugh out loud funny, but also so ridiculous that you're like, I'm reading such fiction right now, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to think of something, like falling in a hot tub together, like something that's like would happen in a rom-com that you were watching on TV. And it was fun. It was just a good time. I can't remember if I told you already, but I think I gave this 3.5 stars. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for something fun and fluffy and just like a really good rom-com. Then throughout the month, I actually have read 3 Christmas short stories in like a short story collection. They're not interconnected in any way, but they are like a collection on Kindle Unlimited of short stories from, I think it's 5 different authors. So the first one I read is Merriment and Mayhem, and this one was really cute, super duper short. I don't even really remember what it was about, if I'm so honest with you. I think I gave it 2.5 stars just because it was like a forgettable, really quick short story. I just like was wanting something Christmassy and fun. I was sitting by the Christmas tree. I'm like, I kind of just want something I could read cover to cover right now. And it was exactly what I wanted for that night, but I already kind of forgot what it was about. So like not super memorable, but I enjoyed it in the moment. Then I read A Cruel Winter with You by Allie Hazelwood, another short story in this collection. This one I actually enjoyed a lot more. This is a second chance romance with people that have a history together, and we get flashbacks to their past, and then we also see them present day and they are snowed in together. So like that forced proximity trope. This one was really cute. I gave it 3 stars. I like this one a little bit more than the past one. It obviously was a little bit more memorable because I can still tell you like the rough plot of it. It was another night that I was like, I just want something Christmassy and sweet and short and just kind of fun and fluffy, and it was perfect for that. And then the last one will actually be in an upcoming holiday reading vlog, and I read Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey. I gave it 1 star. It was not good. There was a cowboy, no, not even cowboy. It was a farmer and a single mom romance, which is fine. But the book starts out with the farmer not being able to find pants because he's just so big and so gruff. And there's like literally a moment in the book where he's like, I've never been able to find pants that fit me or women that can fit me. And I was like, be so for real right now. Like, sit down. You are not that good. Like, go away. I got the ick. I got the ick. Enough said. I got the ick. Anywho, after that, shifting gears, I read a thriller. I read The Only One Left, and this is my second Riley Sager book. The first book I read by him was The House Across the Lake, and I wasn't wowed by it. I enjoyed this one so much more. This is also in a reading vlog, so if you want more detailed thoughts on this, I think it's in like my what I read in a week as a content creator reading vlog. But this is basically like a Lizzie Borden retelling. So we have our main character, I think her name is Kit. Kit, wow, good job. We have our main character Kit, who is a caretaker, and she gets assigned to Lenora Hope, who is basically like Lizzie Borden. It is believed that she has her entire family, and she's now old and in need of caretaking, and she still lives at this mansion, like this big estate, and it's called Hope's End, which is kind of eerie in and of itself, and it's quite literally on a cliffside that is disintegrating. Like the cliff is falling apart. So Kit goes to take care of Lenora. Lenora cannot speak. She can't really function anymore. The best she can do is like type really slowly on a typewriter, and so Lenora starts telling Kit some like details of her past and of the real story through the typewriter. Super creepy, super eerie, lots of plot twists in this book. The ending shook me. Like I thought I had guessed it right. Not even close. Not even close. I couldn't have even predicted what was going to happen. I ended up giving this a 3.75 star. I would thoroughly recommend this. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Really, really good. Then I read Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry, also in that reading vlog that I'm talking about. This one was dark. This follows a late teens boy. I think he's like 16, and he abuses little girls. He is their swim coach, and he abuses them because he is sexually attracted to them. And this is the process of like his story afterwards. His mom is like very much so, get him in treatment, let's rehabilitate him, like let's get him back on the straight and narrow. And the dad is like, I am protecting, because they also have a little daughter. He has a little sister. He's like, absolutely not. They will not be in the same house. I am done. Like, I'm protecting my daughter. And so the parents kind of split up here on the divide because the mom still wants to care for Noah, and the dad is like, no, I have to care for my little daughter and like keep her safe. It was icky. It was a very interesting way to tell this story. Lucinda Berry definitely has a talent for writing dark books. And this book was really easy to read. It was quick, it was short, but also just like easy to get through. Not enjoyable whatsoever because I was like creeped out the whole time. Like I was angry. I felt so many emotions reading this book, but at the same time, like I was invested. I don't know how to describe it. I ended up giving this a 3-star rating. I would recommend it to people, but definitely know that you're getting into kind of a weird situation when you're reading it. Then the last book in that reading vlog I keep referencing is Come Break My Heart Again. This is yet again another second chance romance. We have a couple that has been together at age 15, 18, and then I think it's 25 is where they're at in the present day. There are lots of complicated dynamics here. Kind of like a bad boy, good girl type situation, forbidden love, opposites attract, that kind of vibe. And very, very emotional and lots of tension because we don't know what happened in the past to make the present so full of tension. And so it's like kind of that looming conflict that we don't really know what it is. I would highly recommend this. I think this is an independent author. I can't totally tell, but I've never heard anyone talk about this or talk about this author. So kind of a little hidden gem here. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I definitely will continue to recommend this book like you will for sure, hello? English. I definitely will continue to recommend this book. You will for sure be seeing this in future recommendation videos from me. Like it will be on my radar now for books that I suggest to people. I would recommend. I thought it was great. I need to stop sitting on my legs. They're gonna fall asleep. Yep, they're already asleep. Can I scooch down? Then I read A Bit Much, and this is a collection of poetry, and I read this in one sitting. It was really good. I follow this author on Instagram, and I really like her poetry style and her writing style. I'm a huge poetry fan in general. Like if I could write a poetry book and publish it, I would. I love writing poetry, reading poetry. It just like connects the human experience. I don't know. This was really great. I don't rate poetry, memoirs, nonfiction, anything like that. So I have no star rating for this, but I would definitely recommend picking this book up or at least following this author on social media. I think she's wonderful. Then I read Dishonestly Yours by Krista and Becca Ritchie, and I've been putting this book off for a long time, and I don't really know why, because they are the authors of the Addicted Calloway Sisters series, one of my favorite series of all time, and so I should have been excited to pick this up, but I wasn't, and it took me a long time to get to it, but I finally did in the month of November. I did not have a good time. I really didn't. This is like a suspense romance, like they are in the crime scene. I don't know how to word this. There's like crime mixed with romance in this, and I feel like there was too much emphasis on the crime and the backstory that I feel like we almost lost the plot and we lost the romance up until the last like 5% of the book. I was so bored. There were a lot of characters and so many different time hops that I was like, I feel like I'm just reading about history where I want like plot, like where are we at? Let me meet these characters. It's just like the writing I feel like was a little off for me. I feel like there's potential in the storyline, but the way it was executed, I hate to say it because I love Krista and Becca Ritchie, but I just like didn't live up to what I wanted. I gave this a 2.5 stars. I was very close to DNFing this book at multiple points, but I did push through, and the ending kind of like bumped it up in rating a little bit. Prior to, like I said, that last like 5 to 10%, I was not enjoying my time, and then I feel like so much action happened at the end, and I was like, okay, well now I'm kind of invested, and now I kind of want to read book 2, but it didn't do it for me, unfortunately. Speaking of not doing it for me, I have The Housemaid Wedding, and this is a novella following the Millie, the housemaid, and this series has got to end. It has got to end. It is so overdone, in my opinion. Like, I think the Housemaid series could have stopped after book 1, maybe book 2. Book 2 was decent, but we did not need book 3. We did not need this novella. Stop with the Housemaid. Like, everything's been done. We're good. We're so good. So with that, I gave this 2 stars. I think it's done. I think the Housemaid is kind of washed up and we need to just like leave it rest. Then I have Just Last Night, and I was so excited to read this book. And after reading it, you'll see this in a future reading vlog as well. After reading it, I honestly am a little bit disappointed, which I hate to say. This is a story of friendship, loss, grief, and romance. And I think the romance element, I just didn't connect to at all. I really connected to the grief and like the depiction of grief and how it was talked about. Like, it felt so raw and honest and vulnerable. Like, you could tell the author has clear experience with the grieving process, and I loved how it was written about. It was very relatable, and so I feel like it was, I think I said this in the vlog too, where it was like these one-liners like conveying grief, and I was like, yes, like I'm so seen, I feel so heard, I love that. Annotating, highlighting, whatever, I was like, yeah, I'm into this. And then those like one-liners were padded by boredom. Like, I was bored. And I also have to admit, I do feel like there was a little bit of like a disconnect because I didn't understand fully like the British humor or the British lifestyle and some of the terms being used. Like, I think there was like almost a cultural disconnect with me reading this just because it is so British. But as a whole, I feel like the characters just didn't really wow me, and the romance didn't really wow me, so that was super disappointing. I ended up giving this a 3-star rating because, like I said, there were elements that I really loved. I loved how grief was talked about, and I loved the relatability of grief and how honest and raw and vulnerable it was. But as a whole, I think I just was bored reading this, which was a bummer. Then the last book that I read in November is actually my December darling by Lauren Asher. And this is a shorter Christmas story. I think it's under 300 pages. It is so cute. You will also see this in a future holiday reading vlog, like I keep saying, but it is so cute. This is a nurse-doctor romance, reverse Grumpy Sunshine, and kind of like a taboo forbidden love. And he is such a golden retriever boy, but in a good way. He like reminds me of Jacob Maddox from Yours Truly. This book kind of reminded me of the Yours Truly type vibe, just with like the boy being super sweet, the hospital like doctor setting. and there's lots of like text messages, which kind of reminded me of like the notes in Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I don't know, it just felt like if Yours Truly was a less emotional, fluffier Christmas story. And this is my first Lauren Asher that I've actually ever read, and I have a lot of her books on my TBR for 2025. And if she can write a Christmas novella this good, then I'm so excited for her full-length romance novels. I just feel extra excited to get to her books now. I loved her writing style. I love this book. I thought it was really, really, really cute. And I ended up giving it a 3.5 star, which is pretty high for a Christmas book. So highly would recommend reading this holiday season. All right, y'all, those are the 15 books that I read in the month of November. Again, I know some of them are short stories, so feel free to call me out and say I didn't actually read 15 books, because I agree with you. I just didn't know how else to convey it. So those are the books, regardless of the number, that I read in November. We had some amazing reads and also some disappointing reads. You kind of saw the whole spectrum here, but it was a good reading month overall. And I'm really excited to get into December and some holiday reads and kind of do, as we approach the new year, like look back at my full year of reading. It's like the best time of year for reading. It's so much fun around this time of year. So I'm super excited to take on my December TBR and some more fun holiday reads as well. But before I do, I need you to leave a comment down below and let me know what is your best book that you read in the month of November. But thanks for hanging out for another monthly reading wrap up. I hope you found some new books to maybe add to your TBR or some inspiration for some reads to pick up, whatever it is. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, book besties.